Put the needle on the record.
Finds Barrett. Get a shot up. This is for the win. Oh! It's good! Off the window! R.J. Barrett wins it for the Knicks!
All right, New York Knicks fans, you know what time it is. It's time for New York Knicks 3-and-D, the 2023 season. Oh, the Knicks, of course, routed the Charlotte Hornets last night. They've earned a wild card spot in the East to advance to the in-season tournament. They're going to play the number 1 seed on Tuesday. I'm a basketball purist, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm all hyped up about this in-season tournament crap. But, it is what it is. It adds a little extra flavor to the NBA season, which, is 82 games long. You reach a point sometimes where you got to try different things. You got to try to, engage a different fan base. You got to get the casual fan in the seats. So I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, it's, it is what it is. It's an in-season tournament. This is new to the NBA. It's not new to things like European soccer. But at the end of the day, like I said, it adds a little bit more flair, adds a little bit of excitement, I guess, to the younger fans of the NBA season. So it is what it is. Of course, the Knicks are coming off that big 115-91 win last night over the Charlotte Hornets. The Knicks continue their I don't want to say seesaw approach to their schedule, where they demolish the teams they should, and they hang tough and play well against the upper echelon teams. And we've talked about this before. The Knicks are I think they're more than one player away from being that big push into the top 4. I see the Knicks finishing anywhere between 5 and 6. 5 and 6. Well, that's a big spot. Well, we'll say 5 and 7. In reference to locking in a playoff spot. Because they just need to find that extra ingredient. You still need a backup for Julius Randle. You still need some additional scoring. I would like to see another true wing defender, but you know what? It's still a young season. We got 10 wins so far, so I'm satisfied where we're at the moment. Julius Randle had a nice night last night with 25 points and 20 rebounds. RJ Barrett chipped in another 16. And like I said, they advanced to the knockout stage in the in-season tournament. There's not all happiness and glee right now in Knicks land. You got Josh Hart, who's a little bit upset with his role. I did find it funny. I didn't find it funny, but I found it interesting last night that the New York Knicks bench outscored Charlotte's bench 50-35. That's something you want to see. That's something you always want to see out of that second unit. So I mean, like I said, that's what you want. You want a second unit that can come in and either be the catalyst to sit there and turn around and stop a drought of scoring from the starters, or they're going to be the catalyst to help continue a rhythm and a run that the starters have gone through. And that's really what you want from your bench. And like I said, last night, the Knicks, like I said, that's what they did. They scored 50 points to 35. And, and it also it's a little bit interesting that the, if you want to take a look at it from a perspective that way, is also we played a lot on the bench because it basically was a blowout. But Randle and RJ combined for 28 points to lead the Knicks, of course, to a 53-44 lead at halftime, and it just kind of rolled on from there. Brunson had Brunson had a quiet night, but he wasn't needed last night. Batman was able to take a break. And I always want to talk about Batman. I always talk about Brunson being superstar 1, with this Knicks organization right now. And you take a look, and you are always hoping that Julius Randle was going to be 1B. And we've talked about this before. And there's so many people that just want to move on from Julius Randle. He's 29 years old. He's been here. We kind of know what he is. We see when he can be. When he's on, he's on. When he's not, he's not. When he's engaged, he is a great teammate. He is a guy that's out on that floor facilitating and doing his little, doing what he needs to do to either defensively or offensively or rebound wise. And then when he's not interested and he's disinterested, you kind of see a different player. And you would think at 29 years old, he would have figured it out by now, that the light switch would have went on, saying, "No, listen, I may not always have the best night scoring, but if I don't, at least I can contribute off, defensively with rebounds or just playing solid defense itself. And also I can contribute with some offensive rebounds as well." So, but I always like to use the word that there are certain players that are very truculent with the media and the fans. And there are times that's what Julius is. He's a guy that it's a guy you either love to root for or you love to hate. And that's kind of the sum of that's not only his NBA career, but it's kind of the sum of his Knicks career. And you have those that are sitting there telling you that he's overrated. He wasn't worth it, and then you have some other people that are like, well, without him, we wouldn't be where we are. And, the interesting thing is both camps are right. I really think that Julius is one of these guys that is overrated but underappreciated. And that's kind of the title of this video because of the fact that after he signed that 4-year, 117 extension back in August of 2021, people expected more. You always expect more when you sign that big deal. And this was no different when Randle signed his. You go back and look at it, he had a little bit of that down year, 2021, 2022. He was kind of up and down where he had the 20 points, 9.9 rebounds. He came back a little bit stronger in 2022, 2023 with 25.1 and 10. This year, of course, he's down to 19.9, and I think he's around 10.2 rebounds as well. And honestly, his scoring is down because of the fact that he had that stretch in the beginning of the year where he was playing back from the ankle injury, or the ankle surgery, I should say, where, we heard rumors that he shouldn't have played, and he did play. So at the end of the day, like I said, he's also probably not asked to do as much because I think they're trying to facilitate the ball a little bit more between Barrett and, of course, Quickly now, and also, of course, Brunson. So, you know what? But I just look at his body and his career, and I look what the Knicks have done with him, and I believe the Knicks can win with Julius Randle. But like I said, I think you either love him or you hate him. And is he overrated at times? Of course, there's been so many people in the New York landscape in reference to sports that have come in, done a little bit, and been hyped up to beyond nauseum. I'm thinking of a Giants quarterback. Sorry. And sometimes when you just do a little bit, that New York press machine, if they like you, anoint you the next great thing. I think the problem with Julius Randle is a lot of people don't understand him because of the fact that when he speaks at times, he speaks from the heart, and sometimes I think that gets him in trouble. And he's just had that throughout his existence of his entire career. And I also think he's just underappreciated as well because I go back to the old school Knicks. And when I think of Julius Randle, I think of Bill Cartwright, the former center, who had 2 awesome seasons his first 2 years in the NBA for the Knicks. He played for the Knicks for about 8 years before he got shipped over to the Bulls in that Charles Oakley deal. And I don't think he suffered 2 seasons full of injuries, Cartwright did, but he had 6 other seasons that he played well enough in New York. But again, he was a guy that I think was mid-grade talent. I would say he was a lower-level all-star, kind of like Julius is right now, who the Knicks hyped up and the New York media hyped up so extensively during the early 80s in his playing time that there was no way he could live up to expectations. Now, the problem is Randle at times has a tantalizing talent that when you look at it, you say, oh my God, if we could get this, if we get 25 points, 20 rebounds every night, we could be a number 1, number 2 seed in the East, especially with Brunson. But the problem is that's not the type of player Randle is. He's streaky. And there have been plenty of players in the NBA who are very streaky. And he's just one of them. Another Knick that I think was highly overrated, but again, underappreciated, was even Carmelo Anthony. Now you're going to say, Tim, Carmelo Anthony had these gaudy stats, but also if you look at their playoff runs under Anthony, there wasn't really much there outside of the one big season. I believe it was the 55 wins with Stoudemire and Tyson Chandler. There was, he had the individual stats, he had the individual accolades, but Carmelo Anthony never really made players around him better. And you either loved him or you hated him. I personally liked Carmelo Anthony. I didn't like the trade. I've talked about it before because of the fact that he forced his way out of Denver because of the change in the CBA the next year, which would have gave him less money if he went to New York as a free agent. So I felt he kind of facilitated that trade or forced that trade, which then forced the Knicks to mortgage the future. And we're not going to get into that. But if you look at Carmelo's body of work, he was the consummate professional. He always put up his points. He played defense when he wanted to, I think, which is something that annoyed me a little bit about him. But he was out there, he was there in it. He was on the court night in and night out. And you could see that he gave effort the majority of the time. And at the end of the day, people will say, well, he just put up the points. He didn't do much else. But Carmelo really did other things on the floor. Did he make everyone around him better? No. But he did help the Knicks win. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's about winning championships, not just winning in the regular season. So, some people think that Carmelo's career with the Knicks was a bust. I personally don't think that. I think that he came in, did what he needed to do, and he played his style of basketball, which we knew what it was going to be. And I don't fault him for signing that last contract, but I'm not going to sit there and praise him and say, well, he gave the Knicks a home team discount when he really didn't. But we're not going to get into that. But like I said, he's another player that was, overhyped and I think underappreciated. One player that is underhyped and I always thought was underappreciated was Bernard King. Bernard King was my guy. I was there that Christmas Day. And he's just a guy that I'm not going to get into Knick history, but Bernard King, of course, he was basically the Comet. He was the Gale Sayers of the NBA. He had a season and a half where he was putting up huge numbers before he tore the ACL, just as Patrick Ewing was coming. So we never got to see that dream team, but he was a guy that the Knicks he is a guy that made the Knicks better. And he also made his teammates around him better as well. Josh Hart has been complaining a little bit about his role with Tom Thibodeau in reference to the offense. He thinks he's not being used or not included in the offense itself. And he actually came out to basically say Josh Hart did, I'm a rhythm player. So sometimes if I don't touch the ball for 4 or 5 minutes running up and down the floor, you catch and shoot, I might as well be playing football, Hart said. I feel like I have no feel for the ball. There are definitely times I pass up shots because I'm not in the rhythm. I don't like the feel of it. And this came in, of course, just before tip-off of last night's game, and of course he puts up 17 that night. And I'm going to tell you this, Josh. You are not the guy we facilitate the offense through. You are a vital part of this team, but you're also a role player. You need to make adjustments because of the fact that you are coming in. And honestly, I don't want to hear about the rhythm, because especially if you're going to be coming off the bench. I always harken back to the days of the Detroit Pistons back in the 90s with Vinnie Johnson, the microwave. Vinnie Johnson, the microwave, never passed up a shot he didn't like or saw or didn't like, because of the fact that he knew when coming off the bench, his role was to be instant offense. And I think that Josh needs to adjust a little bit to the way the Knicks are playing. We just signed a 4-year, $80 million extension. And he's just one of these guys that he is going to be a large cog on this team. But you have to remember, the majority of the offense is going to go through Brunson, Randle, and Quickly and Barrett. So you need to find your role. You need to find your place. You need to find your spot. But airing the stuff like that, this was a Julius Randle moment. Airing stuff like that out to the press doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anyone any good. All right, we can't wait till the end of the season tournament coming in. It's going to be exciting. And don't forget to check out 3&D on every place that you can get podcasts or listen to podcasts, or you can download it here on the Online Big Blue channel. We may start our own 3&D channel. I haven't decided yet, because I really do enjoy doing Knick videos. And don't forget, put the needle on the record. This is Tim. This is New York Knicks 3&D, the 2023 season. And I'm out of here.